XR here, continuing our look at Alea Jacta Est, the ancient Roman turn-based strategy game. If you'll remember last time, we had just basically finished moving the armies that we were going to move for this first turn of the Marius versus Sulla civil war, in which we're playing as the Optimates faction, led by Sulla. We are moving Sulla himself here from Dyrrachium down to Pharsalos, and this guy right here, uh, Quintus Bracius Sura, we are going to garrison here in Thessalonica to try to keep him safe because that's a pretty small army. Really, this army here, led by Sulla himself, is our only sizable army at the moment that we can move around. We also have this one legion here outside Nola and a couple little dudes in Rome itself. And then the rest of our legions are currently locked in place where they are. But before we move on to the next turn, there were just a couple other things that I wanted to talk about. As I mentioned at the very beginning of the first video, I'm not really an expert at this game. I basically know how to play it now, but I'm far from knowing the best things to do in every situation. But there are lots of other things that you can do as well as just moving these guys around. And you can actually see up here you've got these buttons, F1 through F8, and they bring up all kinds of different. You can either click on them here or push the corresponding button. They bring up all different kinds of things. F1 is your list of all the forces in the world. I guess it's actually a list of all the forces you control, but everything appears on here, including just like the little urban Urbite militia or whatever they're called, the city garrisons and stuff, and you'll see most of these are locked, meaning that we can't move them. Almost all of them are locked. So only the ones that are not locked are the ones we have to worry about, and you can actually sort it over here. So we've got, actually looks like we've got a couple guys on roads that are unlocked. The guy in Rome. One of these is the, this one I think is the, yeah, this is Sulla's army here, 655 would be Sulla. Manus is the guy, no, that's the one in Rome. One of these is the one that we moved into Thessalonica. Where is this guy in Rhodes? I don't see anything here. Can I? Oh. We've got a fleet out of Rhodes. It's got 2 ships and a couple dudes in it that we can actually move around. Let's not do that. By the way, if you do this, like if I drag this over here and make this whole thing and I decide that I want to not do that after all, if you push delete on your keyboard, it cancels the move orders 1 square at a time. I'm just going to leave him there right now because I'm not actually sure what would be the best thing to do with him. So yeah, we control this as well. Even though Rhodes is an independent faction, their loyalty is 100% Optimates, so they're loyal to us. Also worth noting, something I forgot to mention last time, you'll see some of these cities, the color is darker than others. Like here, take a look at the color of Thessalonica here versus the color of Dodone. That means Thessalonica is a strategic city, which is different than an objective city. Objective cities have the stars. Strategic cities are simply more important. They're worth a small amount of victory points as opposed to objective cities, which are worth a lot of victory points. These little cities that are just like a paler color, generally smaller, have less supply, and are not worth victory points. So, for whatever it's worth. So anyway, so that's what F1 is, the list of all your forces in the world, what their strength is, where they are, and you can get to any of them here by double-clicking on them. Yeah. So and then we've also got F2 is the replacements menu, and I'll talk about this a little more when I talk about unit production, but basically it'll list any units you have under production here. And then also these are your replacements, and well, I'll talk about that some more when we actually need to deal with it, which is not right now. F3 brings up your politics menu, or imperator menu rather. There's nothing here right now. Historical options, they also call it. This is sometimes you'll have options here based on things that are happening in the world, like to hire German mercenaries or something like that. This is where that'll show up. And it'll say down here in your message bar, new options available, or whatever it might be. And then in F4, this one is much important. This is politics, SPQR, the Senate and People of Rome. These are various campaigns that you can undertake to assist you in your military campaign. So we've got bread distribution, minor, major bread distribution, minor propaganda, major propaganda, minor games, large games, exceptional games, raise money, and repair your merchant fleets. A lot of the times you're only going to use these in pretty dire situations. They cost, I guess I need to talk about this too. There's so much in this game, I keep forgetting, doing things at a separate order than I probably should. But let me pause from this for a moment to talk about these other things up here real quickly. I mentioned that this is victory points. This one on the end is your money. Those are just coins. We start with 200. This one here is morale. It's your national morale. So that's like the morale of your followers, your whatever faction you are. That's their general mood. And you can actually lose or win the game based on national morale. If your national morale gets too low, you will lose. I think if it's below 40 or something like that, I don't remember exactly. It may vary from scenario to scenario. But if it gets too low, you lose. There's also an upper threshold where if your national morale passes that threshold, you win. So it's like your people just believe so strongly that you can't possibly lose, that the game has recognized that you're going to win. But I've never... In my games that I've played, I've never really come close to either of those, although I'm sure it's entirely possible to do so. You gain national morale from winning victories. You lose it by losing big victories, and you also have to spend it to recruit units. It actually costs some morale to recruit units, because you're calling people up from their homes to join the army. That tends to have a negative effect on morale. So you want to keep your morale going up by winning battles so that you can recruit more units in the long run. This next one over here is engagement points. Those are basically like you spend those on this stuff. That's basically what they're for. It costs engagement points to spend to buy these political decisions and stuff like that. And you earn engagement points from holding certain objectives, I think. It says right now I'm getting 3 per turn. I don't remember exactly what earns those for you, but so these are like some of the things you've got here. Like here's a minor bread distribution campaign. Spend money to boost morale. So it costs 1 engagement point, that's EP, and 100 denarii to gain 2 national morale and +5 loyalty in Italia, +10 in Rome. Makes loyalty go up in Italia, slightly national boost morale, costs money and EP. Propaganda costs EP and money, gains morale and loyalty over larger areas. Games, again, cost EP and money, gain some morale. So there are different ways to gain morale, but you'll notice they have different thresholds for when you can use them. Like you can only use the bread distribution campaign if your national morale is equal to or lower than 110. You can only use propaganda if your national morale is equal to or lower than 85. You can only use games if your national morale is equal to or lower than 95. So they have like different thresholds. They cost different amounts. Raise more money is a pretty good one that can be used fairly often, but it actually costs victory points and national morale. So you lose 5 EP, 2 national morale, and 25 victory points in order to gain 200 denarii, but that can get you out of a tight spot if you need to recruit troops and you don't have any money. And this is to repair your merchant fleets, which you can only use if your merchant fleets are separate from damage. Which reminds me, I should also talk about the merchant fleets, which are these guys here. These circular areas represent trade areas, and so we have these red ones. These are ours, obviously. We have fleets sitting in these trade areas, and they will generate money. Them being in this circle represents them going back and forth trading. And the enemy, or us, if we see enemy ones in one of these, can attack those and destroy the merchant fleets, which will then reduce the money that the person who owned those merchant fleets is generating. So you need to keep an eye on those, defend them if it looks like they're in trouble, and if you need to build replacements if they get destroyed, and that's this helps with repairing them if they take damage. You can use this decision to bring them back up to full health. F5 is various. I don't actually remember what that is. Not important because we don't have anything there. F6 is the strategic map, which shows the whole map and including where all the armies currently are located. F7, this is the objective screen. So this shows the objective. This is the objectives list. What cities are objective cities and how much they're worth. So Roma is worth. This is victory points per turn. Roma is worth 25 victory points per turn. Athens is 3. Ephesus 3. Thessalonica 2. So on down the list. This shows the time limit. Scenario end in 81 BC, January. It is currently 87 February, and each turn is 30 days, so there's 12 turns per year, and we are just about 6 years out. So 6 times 12, I'm bad at math, whatever that is, how many turns this scenario is. My capital's at Rome, our current morale is 90. Total VP is 0, we're getting plus 16 a turn, and our engagement points is 25. This shows our prisoners taken and our losses in the past couple turns, and this is the morale and victory points of all the other major factions. Pontus is the pink guys, the Populares are our Roman enemies. Lusitania were those green guys over in Spain, and then the pirates, who are just kind of the random barbarian guys around. Kind of important to keep an eye on this, not only to check out your score versus the scores of the other players, but also because if you've taken a lot of prisoners, you can actually go back into your decisions here, and there'll be a new one at the end that's sell prisoners, and you can actually sell the prisoners to generate a lot of money, ransom them and stuff like that. And then F8 is here we go. This is the blurb I was reading at the very beginning on the menu. This is like the historical context, but we won't read that for right now. So that's what all these buttons do. In addition, we've also got this stuff down here. Now the eagle is your military recruitment. And I'm not going to talk about that right now because I'll talk about it when we actually need to do it, which is not right now. But pressing this eagle brings up the recruitment mode. That's how you build new units. The statue here brings up decision mode. These are yet more things that you can do in order to try to improve your lot. Now, a lot of these are very restrictive in when you can use them. Like here, we have the ability to hold a triumph in Rome, and you'll see everything is red except Rome. We can only do it in Rome. It's actually capital restricted, so it would be wherever our capital was, So there's that. All these other ones you can requisition. This is kind of and actually if you hold shift, and it's hard to do this because it tries to bring up sticky keys on me. I wish you could remap it, but you can't. But basically requisition you can use on territory you control, and you're basically requisitioning supplies from people forcefully, as it notes. So you get money, but it lowers morale in that area. Enslave and pillage, subversion, removes enemy loyalty, costs engagement points. So you can use that on territories you don't control. Like here, loyalty is 50% optimates. But if there's one that has split loyalty, let's see. Yeah, here, see? This loyalty is 50% optimates, 50% pontics. So if we use subversion there at the cost of some EP, it would raise our loyalty in that area, and therefore make it easier for us to eventually control it. Reforms, gain loyalty in pacify a region by spending EP. Pax Romana, gain loyalty in pacify a region Roman restricted by sending EP. You can build roads, creates a roads, costs 75,000 denarii. I guess these are 1,000 denarii, so costs 75 money. Makes some roads, earns you back some EP, and it makes it so your guys actually will move faster over those areas with roads. I have built some roads before. A lot of these have to do with earning money. Like this is a pretty decent one. Merchants gain denarii over time. Has a duration of 500 turns and will apply its effects every turn it's in existence. Can get see sticky keys. No, I'm just holding shift to see what the thing is. Can can decay by itself each turn with a 10% chance. So each turn you have a 10% chance for this to go away, but you can only use it on a region you don't own, and it earns you 5 denarii a turn bonus. So like, let's say we want to put some, I don't think it costs anything. No, it doesn't. So we want to send some merchants out to other parts of the world. So let's send them here. I've got 5 of them. You can see the little number up here in the corner. It was 5 and went down to 4. It's just the send effects. Why can I not? Yeah, put some merchants there. And I'm just picking like places with decent sized cities, and it has to be places you don't own. But everywhere that they are, put one here in Crete. We've got one more. Yeah. We're going to own those before long. Let's do it way over here in Ancyra. So those merchants will sit there and generate me 5 money a turn each. And they have a 10% chance every turn of going away. And if they go away, they'll show up back here after a while, and I can reuse them. We can also build trade posts, which I believe, yeah, it costs 5 victory points. You plop it down, and it goes for some amount of turns, like maybe 5 turns, and then generates a lump sum of money at the end of those turns. You can pacify a region to get military control without military units. So this is when you play on regions that you don't control. Costs victory points, but it raises your military control in that area, even if you don't have troops there. And you can build walls. Lets you build military fortifications to increase the fort level of the town. Costs 50 money. So these are all different decisions you can do also. The only ones that are really important, like I said, I'm not an expert at this game. You could probably utilize all of them very well if you knew what you were doing really well. The only ones I really use are merchants and trade posts to increase my money. And I have built roads before as well. But okay, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. So I think we can advance the turn now. The only things we've set to move this turn are Sulla and his major army going over here to Pharsalos, because we want to try to, well, we need to capture all of these areas. Before we can go back to Italy and deal with that, we need to at least make sure Greece and Macedonia are under our control. So we need to at least take out this, and we're most concerned about this big army right here. So we want to try to get him, well, we don't know where he might move this turn, so we want to try to block him off. So we're going to kind of march across the top here and come down here and capture Pharsalos. And I've put Sulla in assault mode, so he will attack automatically when he gets there. He has Assaulter, the ability Assaulter, so he does not have to breach the defenses in a siege, as I talked about last time. He can just assault right away. So he's hopefully going to take this city, which is relatively undefended. It has 1 unit, but it's probably just a civilian militia. And he's going to move inside this town. So now let's up here, we've got proceed to next turn. And we have to wait for it to process. That does take a while in this game. It has to like build all these files and then process everything that's happening. So if you just give you a minute to think about what you're going to do. I actually have a pretty fast processor on this computer, so it's not as slow as it could be. I've seen some videos of people playing this game or other games in this engine where it takes quite a lot longer. Okay, there goes. Guys are moving. Something happened over there. Doesn't sound too good. And here we are, start of the next turn. We can see our changes up here. We've gained 16 victory points. Our morale went up by 1. Our EP went up by a couple, and we earned a lot of money. Went from 200 to over 1,000. He hasn't moved. We are now outside Pharsalos, and we're besieging it. I thought we were going to assault it. And he is now inside, or he should be in Thessalonica. He's at Thessalonica. One other thing I forgot to mention, actually, is this little envelope above them indicates whether they're activated or not. And all that means is, based on their strategic stat, I believe, of which Sulla has a nice high 6, at the beginning of every turn, there's actually a die roll to see if that army is activated or not, and it's based on I believe it's based on the strategic stat of the highest seniority general, the general in command. and it's just a die roll. And if they succeed against the check, they're activated, which means they move as normal. If they fail, it means they're not activated, and that's what this is right here. See, this envelope is brown as compared to Sulla's over here, which is white. The brown envelope means they failed the check, which means they can only be in defensive or passive mode, and if they try to move anywhere, they move much slower. So it's just supposed to represent like how on the game, on top of his game, the general is. Good generals with high strategic stats will be activated more often than not, but it can be a pain in the butt sometimes. I don't know why we didn't attack this city right away. I thought that's what we would do, because I thought I had him in assaulting mode, but maybe I didn't click on it. He's in assaulting mode now, so he should assault it at the end of the turn. As you can see here, he's put it under siege, but he has assaulter, so he shouldn't need to actually breach its defenses. And yes, this guy's in Thessalonica now. Okay, so start of the turn, we should look at all our notes here. Most of this is not super important. It's just a summary of everything that's happened. You can see here all our merchants are active. Merchants from Optimates are active in Atzeros, Knossos. These are all the places we put them, so they're generating their 5 gold a turn for us. Upkeep of units in the field has used 42 denarii. Some of our guys are suffering hits from exhaustion, wear and tear in Parthos. Blah, arrived here. Enemy fleet destroyed 2 units during the battle in a region Mari Arensis Commercius. I think that was this. That's what we were seeing down here. But I don't think, maybe that wasn't ours, because it doesn't look like our guys took any damage. Are all these wear and tear? I guess they are. Just our guys are suffering some, yeah, they're suffering some hits just from exhaustion, wear and tear. So I guess that does happen. But we've got supplies, right? Yeah, we're well supplied. So, and this is what I was talking about last time with the units. Each of these units is, you know, like a subunit. Like here's the Legion. This is the 4th Legion, and then all these cohorts are subunits of that Legion, and you can see they've turned partially red. That means they're missing men. Some guys have died, and as long as they're in an area with decent supply, which they are, they're connected by to this big green area. Those should refill automatically if they're in defensive or passive posture, which they're not right now. But if they were, and that may be why they didn't attack him also. In fact, why don't I put them in passive to try to regenerate some of this? I'm not sure why they took so much damage just moving across, but it may have to do with the territory. They were crossing a lot of territory here with poor supply. But anyway, so that red should eventually, as long as they're resting in defensive or passive mode, that should refill and are supplied. That should refill on its own. What would happen if what would not regenerate on its own is if one of these entire cohorts died, then we'd have to bring a new one in from our replacements to refill it. Another thing I actually did forget to mention, which I think may account for part of this damage that we've taken here, is there's 2 bars here on the units list. The one on the right is unit strength, so you'll see some of these are missing now. It's because they've lost guys. That's why the green bar is less. The one on the left is actually unit cohesion, and you'll see here they're full. Here they're all empty. And that has to do with how prepared they are to fight, basically. And it goes down as you move, and the harsher the territory you're moving through, the faster it goes down. And the way you get it back is just by resting. The same as the other thing, you rest and reorganize. So I'm assuming what happened here is that we marched through too difficult territory for this time of year. We must have also this was all white last time, which was snow, so we may have also been, it was winter and it may have been harsh territory. Their unit cohesion fell. They took damage because their unit cohesion ran out, which was representing their exhaustion, and that's why they took damage, and that's probably also why they didn't attack when they got here. They had no cohesion, so they were not prepared to attack. So I'm just going to let him besiege that rather than telling him to assault it right away. And you can see also here the dots have turned from green to yellow, representing the general condition of the army is not quite as good as it was. But I rather than having him attack right away. I'm going to let him rest in defensive mode for the next turn, and hopefully that cohesion will come back, and a bunch of the guys will come back as well. So this guy didn't go anywhere. This Pontic guy is sieging Byzantium, which is currently, I guess it's currently controlled by us. Has 50% loyalty to us, and it says his military control is 95% Pontus because they've got an army there, but it's 5% Optimates. So I guess this is technically under our control. I guess we can check by doing this. Well, it's under their control now, but he's besieging the city. Oh yeah, Byzantium Optimates besieged, but we're not going to go over there. We can't get over there in time to do anything about it. So he's probably going to besiege this and then come over this way toward Amphiolus. But I'm more concerned with this guy right now because he's already in our territory, sitting in Thebes right now. Anyway, let's look at the rest of our messages. So here's the ones in red are important, and you can double click on them to get more information if they're red. Poor sanitation debilitates your largest army. Oh. Well, that's also could be why they took damage, and that's just like a random poor event. Extreme heat in Africa? Okay. Roman civilization progress in Africa. Roman civilization is making constant progress in Africa. As a consequence, loyalty of Roman citizens has switched in our favor +5 in this theater. The production of supplies in the region of Caesarea Maurentia has increased +10, as well as the local taxes +1. So that's a good thing. Demos Revolt, and now this is Delos rather Revolt. This is an example of a historical thing. This is something that actually happened during this war, basically, and they've worked it in as a event. Delos was blue last turn, belonged to our enemies, the Populares. Now it's red. Now it belongs to us. And if we click on this, we'll see faced by the intrigues of the tyrant Aristion, who had seized power in Athens. Thanks to the Pontic assistance, the inhabitants of Delos, who dwell on the trade with Rome, have decided to uprise in revolt against Aristion upon learning of Sulla's landing in Epirus. Okay, so it was actually Pontus controlled this last turn, and they have revolted, and now they belong to us. You gain control of Delos in region Delos from Pontus. Let's see, party squabble. Proconsul Pompeius Strabo, father of Pompeius Magnus, was one of the winners of the social war, blah, 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 blah. Caught in a brawl before having taken... So this is just another historical event. Didn't actually do anything. It's just keeping us up to date with the stuff that's going on. And here's the last one. Lucullus's Odyssey. Sulla, when landing his legions in Epirus, realizes that he does not have the naval means to fight the powerful war fleets of Mithridates, the Pontic king. He entrusts his legate Lucullus to tour the various states and cities of the eastern Mediterranean in order to assemble a fleet worthy of his name and fame. For the latter, a difficult tour starts because Pontic ships represent a permanent threat, which must add to the risk to meet one of the many pirate vessels, also most of them working for Pontus. In game terms, send Lucullus to each of the following ports on a tour mission and expect some results. Positive chance in percent hereafter. Crete, 40%. Selinus of Pamphylia, 50%. Blah, 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 blah. So basically, this is another historical event they've worked into the game. We have this guy here. Wait, where is he? Here he is. Lucullus with his one ship. And Sulla has sent him to all those different places to try to recruit more ships. So if we send him to those places... which I'm not going to do right now because of all these storms. But basically, we'll send him around to all those places, and there's a percent chance at each of those stops that they mentioned that we'll randomly get an increase to our fleet, which we can then use afterwards. But these areas here, you can see they have storms in them. It would be dangerous to sail through those while the storms are going on. So rather than go around, I'm just going to wait because chances are next turn the storms will be gone and we can come down here to the first stop in Crete and see if we can recruit some more guys. So that's everything that happened that turn. I think I'm almost at half an hour, but I want to just advance the turn once more just to see if anything exciting happens. Well, before I do that, let me just talk about replacements quick. These are our replacements here. These are replacement chits, and each of these replaces a whole cohorts. So if an entire cohort was missing from one of these, that's where it would draw from this. So we've got 20 here of Roman line infantry, that's the symbol, I believe, of like those cohorts that we were just looking at. Oh no, I guess that's slightly different. It's these guys, the auxiliaries, Roman line infantry. This is Roman light infantry, Roman skirmisher, blah, 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 blah. So, and this number up here is how many of those men are currently missing. But it won't actually use these unless the entire thing is missing. So if we want to make sure, we want to increase our replacement chits in the event that we lose an entire thing, we can just click on it and it'll give us like, this is how many we have right now, and this is how many more we'll have next turn. We're like queuing them up here, and it's costing money. You can see up here is going down, costing 20 denarii for every one that I buy. And it actually says when you mouse over it, it's advised to keep a buffer of replacements, ideally 10% of the number of elements using it. So that's how, and this is Roman legatus. You just want to make sure you have some replacements here, so that as those cohorts lose guys, then it will draw from there to replace them, and that number will then go down as you use them up, and then you have to buy more. So anyway, he's resting this turn. He's in defensive mode. He's besieging, so he should get some replacements for the guys, and their cohesion should go up too as the turn advances. So let's advance the turn and see what happens. Now it's showing a offensive symbol next to Sulla, but I just put him on defensive. Did I just click offensive by accident? That would suck. Let's see what happens here. Here comes somebody. No, I'm still on defensive. Okay. Oh. So here's a battle report. This is the Battle of Roma. The Optimus defeat. The Populares have decided to declare war, and they attacked Roma, where you'll remember we only had like 2 units of auxiliaries. And this basically just shows well, here's the main thing, is we lost. We lost 3,800 men. They lost 1,300 men. These are the forces at the beginning of the battle. Ranged casualties, assault casualties. So we lost 3 whole subunits, and then these are just like individual hits lost, but this is important, the 3 whole subunits. And then here you can see percentage of units that were rested, how many were supplied, blah, 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 it was raining, etc., etc. So basically they took Rome over. I guess they haven't taken it over yet, they've just attacked it. Unless it changes when the turn actually advances. No, we still control it. So we lost the battle, but they haven't actually managed to take over the city yet. We've still got some urban militia there. I guess they destroyed our army that was there, but the urban militia are still holding the city. This guy moved into the province with Sulla, but since Sulla was in defensive, he didn't attack him. Now, if I put Sulla in offensive, he would attack him. Now, you'll see all these units here that were had no cohesion last turn. Now all their cohesion is back because they rested for a turn. In addition, the strength has gone up. It has not completely recovered in all of them, but it is certainly higher than it was. And a lot of these have started filling back in because we were in defensive, we were resting. So we've started to refill in those units. And we've got our extra replacements that we queued up here. So yeah, not much happened that turn. We'll go over all this stuff in the next episode because I'm over 30 minutes now, so I want to end it. But yeah, we've got an army facing us down here, a much smaller army facing us down here. And these guys are going to take Rome from us, but I'm not sure there's anything we can do about that right now. We'll just have to come back and take Rome back from them after we finish securing Greece. So yeah, stay tuned for next time.